Alrighty, good morning, folks. So, something of a, I guess, unannounced stream type of deal here today. Hopefully, it doesn't jank out, but ended up being a little bit earlier than usual with everything, and figured I was kind of going and wrapping things up. So, alright, bit of introduction to this. So, so essentially, Union Level Zero. This is a mod that Alistair put together recently, and basically what it does is that it sets your union level to 0, which has a lot of interesting mechanical things to it. All of this will be explained in the actual video version of this because this stream is basically the last 3 fights in order to make this fight viable. In order to make this run viable, I should say. So let me go check audio real quick. Looks about right. Okay. Also, I think I actually used the wrong thing for her in a different video. Okay, anyway, so let's go ahead and discuss the quirks of this real quick. So essentially what this mod does is, again, it sets union level to 0, which means that it is effectively a no experience run. Now, more or less what this does on a mechanical level is that it prevents units from learning a lot of skills that they would normally learn. So, for example, a lot of our level 3s are going to be the people that survived from the very start. These are going to be the ones that have access to things like concentration and meditate, but will never have access to anything else. We've got a lot of what I call artificial wizards that we'll be using over the course of this thing. And these are going to be the ones that are just level 1s, but we've got some spell strike powder, some dodge on them, and basically they're going to, again, just sort of be the item-funded version of these guys over here. And then additionally, we've got a few that were at level 5. These were typically Leonar's units and stuff like that ended up joining later. So we've only got a handful of units that can really use a lot of skills whatsoever. So anyways, that's kind of the complication here, but currently, the one thing that we need to accomplish in order to make this run viable is to actually reach Tynemouth Hill. Once we reach there, Farumpa Wildwood unlocks, which means that at that point we can basically just get whatever resources are needed to get through all of the rest of the fights of the game. It's an odd little thing to look into, but it's basically the same thing that happened back with the level 1 run. Wherein at a certain point it was just more or less necessary to use certain resources pretty extensively. So like right now, the only reason that the video for this hasn't actually come out yet is simply put because we kind of got into a situation here where money started running low on on the save file at a pretty unfortunate time here. See, there's a very oddly specific bit of routing that I was doing in order to hopefully have a backup plan for Dorgy whenever we get that far. Because as far as Dorgy goes, like obviously the dude, it can be pretty scary on a good day, and so for being in a run like this, even though we'll have units that are potentially at a workable level by that point, I did still want to have a backup plan in case everything else isn't quite working out, because I did want to go for princess ending and stuff like that. So I mean, even if we did Lord Cheese, it wouldn't matter. Frankly, because this guy's never going to learn any skills, so yeah, stuff's a little awkward in that regard. I've actually come to think of it, I probably should just go Lord route just to see what kind of weird jank crap he ends up looking like. But either ways, so on top of all of this, one more thing I should mention is that the first time that we were doing this particular challenge run here, it was extremely easy to snap in half. So when we were doing it the first time, it became very clear that any unit at level 5 or above more or less could break the challenge completely on account of having recruit skills. Because as soon as you got those recruit skills, you could just bypass any level issues whatsoever. You injure somebody, you recruit them, and at that point it's just essentially a looser Pokemon Nuzlocke run. So yeah, that's where hard mode was introduced for this mod, wherein essentially in hard mode, what we're seeing is that recruit skills are removed, with the exception of the later classes for Denim, Kashua, and Vice. So they're the only ones that are able to recruit. So it's basically back to SNES rules as far as that goes. So we won't be able to get those skills on them for a very long time. In the case of Denim, it's weird that he has that particular thing added to him, considering that he can never achieve the level to actually recruit anyone anyway. He is permanently stuck at level 1. Okay. Also, hi there, Joe. Thank you. Glad to entertain and all that. But yeah, we'll be. Hopefully, this is going to be the last 3 fights until this run kind of takes a little bit of a break for a while I go and build up resources to make the rest of it possible. See, as you see right there, basically any old random scratch has the potential to completely wipe out most units in this team right now. And this means that there's going to be a lot of, for example, debuff stacking and whatever else to have any chance whatsoever of actually bypassing stuff. So like right now, the only way that this run becomes, or that this particular fight becomes possible is courtesy of Canopus. He starts off with his kind of early stat bonus advantage, which means that even with everything else taken into account, he is just stronger than everyone else on the team. And effectively what we're doing is switching him over to Warrior, giving him his Vihander, and then having him bum rush whatever the boss is of the day. This only became possible with this this particular fight right here. With every fight prior to this, it was just simply impossible to achieve. Now, the way that we allow this to happen, the way that he can even get close to that boss, is through debuff spam. So, courtesy of our guaranteed debuffs and things like that, we're able to get somewhat close, courtesy of blocking off certain tiles. We're able to mostly prevent them from getting close, for a little while anyway. And then from there, we have the further backup plan of the 4 wizards here, who are essentially just going to be spamming everything from paralysis to charm to sleep in order to keep everybody else at bay. Now, this is about as random as you can get, so there's going to be a lot of cases where just stuff doesn't land. Now, sometimes we just get charm after charm after charm after charm, and they just end up fighting each other the entire time. Other times it ends up not quite working out so good. The thing is, there's a lot of things that have to line up in this particular instance in order to be able to pull this off. So I don't have to worry about picking up crit cards on him, but one thing that I do need to worry about is getting a hold of fizz cards to multiply his damage. Whatever Canopus essentially runs into is more or less what he's gonna have to rock in order to go hit Josephine over there. The thing is, there's only so much time to actually get up there and get anything done. So realistically speaking, it's just basically kind of shooting your shot and hoping for the best right now, because all the resources on this team ran out. Before this fight, and what you'll see in the video, is that, yeah, if you have Blessing Stones on hand, you can continuously re-roll your skills, you can basically guarantee a lot of the stuff that we're going to be doing here, but because of the fact that we don't have access to kind of any repeatable areas up until we get to Tynemouth Hill at least, we're basically in a position that, we're kind of stuck trying to make anything happen with 30% odds. It's not the greatest thing in the world, but really it was a lot more dire in the previous fight, because at least we have access to craftable equipment now. Now, there were a few things that I tried to make this a bit more consistent, and they were variable in terms of their success. So, for example, one of the things that I was hoping would have a bit more of a kind of chance of success here was actually the kind of approaching from the water route. So like this right here, this is about as bad as this particular setup gets, just so you know. Normally, by this point, we've got at least a couple units charmed, we've got everybody still standing on the team, and we've got Canopus with at least one more chance to, one more card to hit Josephine with. He still technically can beat her without the cards, but it takes so much more time that he practically can't. So, we're going to take this MP recharge and just have him spam Mighty Impact and hope for the best. This one's almost certainly scuffed already, but it's alright. One of the plus sides of a run like this is that the attempts do not take that long to to go and redo, because again, just like the level 1 run, there's a lot of potentially redoing things. So yeah, the fights don't typically last terribly long, unlike say something like a no in-cap run or something. So there's that. Okay, so let me explain this a little bit further. So part of the reason that that this worked in, let's say, it worked when we had items or whatever else, is again because we can't really do very much in terms of resetting here if something goes wrong. So like the previous fight, it was a case that I could have Canopus go and bully this leader guy. He had a few shots to go get the kill in there. We had the entire team more or less holding everyone else off, blocking off entire areas, leaving them on swamp tiles and whatnot. In this particular instance, like, everything has gone wrong over and over and over. We lost one of our casters early. We ended up Getting Canopus debuffed, which is one of the worst things that can happen in this case. Um, was too busy talking and left him in the range of an Aqua Bubble, which if he gets breached, he's pretty much toast. The one nice thing here about this whole thing is that hopefully this still leaves him in a position where he's not too wrecked here. Like, he's still got an elemental advantage. He's still got something maybe, but yeah, this is as bad as setups go, and that's probably going to be, yeah, that's him taken out right there. Like, the kind of ideal here, and the one that almost succeeded multiple times at this point, and actually what ended up making me try a spear approach to this, was actually a kind of Josephine's situation up there. See, the issue that we ran into wasn't the fact that he couldn't do enough damage. It wasn't the fact that he couldn't threaten Josephine. He can basically two-shot her. The thing is, though, that once he ended up getting up there, she ends up whooping his ass with a shield. So basically, what the setup became was this weird situation where we had to try and get close. He had to be able to get 2 to 3 attacks off while everybody else was still standing and distracting the rest of the team. And then from there, somehow he had to be able to survive her attacking twice with a shield. Remember, clerics are quick, shield bashes are quick, so she can essentially double round him if he does a Mighty Strike. Weird issue to run into, but yeah. Also, good morning, Violet. So, good morning. We'll enjoy the videos. Well, glad to entertain. So, just so you know, this the rest of this run is going to be in one video. This is one of those runs I was talking about doing in just essentially 3 chunks. So the way that this run was going to be completed as soon as we're done here is going to be that this hopefully ends with the first chunk. We might just end up being stuck in this fight until then, and I might end up doing the rest for some videos. But either way, the plan is for it to be just kind of one solid chunk up until we hit Tynemouth Hill. Once we hit the hill, then we'll have access to the woods, which then allows for basically infinite resources on this team. From there, that means that we can have access to element swaps whenever we need them, have access to stat boosts whenever we need them. It won't do anything about the fact that many of the characters simply don't have any skills to play around with, but it will give plenty of advantages in terms of having more flexibility on the team. So, for example, even with stuff like stat cards being available at that point, realistically, the only one it's worth dumping anything into is going to be Canopus. He is the only one that realistically cannot die over the course of this run, or else it's stuck. The reason for this is because we can't get another Hawkman, and having the ability to fly is extremely important. Now, later on, we could potentially maybe replace him with somebody like an Obda or a Berta. Oops, she did not have concentration. I mean, it's fine. This particular attempt is scuffed anyway. I think I only had 2 Blessing Stones on the entire team. If I am not mistaken, we already used one of them, and I might not even have that second one in this version of this timeline here. Alright, yeah, we don't even have the second one, so we only have the one to play around with. So realistically, we're just going to kind of let them get slaughtered here so that we can restart. Because I have multiple versions of this kind of saved up, and we're just kind of using the continue function to save this particular timeline. But effectively, the strategy at this point, due to the fact that this team is completely drained of items, is to spam 30% debuffs on the 4 casters here, as well as the Terror Knight. With those combined, their odds of actually doing something are pretty decent. So, for example, if 3 or 4 charms land, like, for example, you saw right there, as we missed every single debuff up to this point, that can work really well. And the way that this kind of works in a golden scenario is that we, for example, get all these guys lined up. We get the Octopi charmed out of the way. We end up getting the Archer charmed, and then Canopus lands a Mighty Strike onto Josephine. At which point, there's now potentially up to 3 targets that are very able to actually crack her defenses. So, like, for example, Voltaire can technically already start being something of a threat, even though this is only a 3. Like, just the fact that he does something other than a 1 is already at least something to play around with. Realistically, Canopus is potentially doing hundreds, so that's really the way that we're going to end up going here. Again, this team is mostly just being sent off to die at this point, because my hard save is is essentially before a lot of this setup. So we're just going to kind of do whatever we can. It's going to be a whole lot of nothing, but just to hopefully give a taster over how certain odds are of things landing. Because these 30% with how often they're being spammed out are actually somewhat reliable. Like, that's been the thing up to this point. Oh, shoot, hold on. Alrighty, and we're back. Okay, so let's go ahead and explain more of the bigger picture here as far as the plan for this run goes. So I mentioned that there were going to be 3 chunks. Effectively, again, as soon as this one gets up to Tynemouth Hill, that's going to be the first chunk. That's going to be the first video there. Second video is basically going to be the entire rest of the game. Like, once that happens, potentially. Basically, it's everything up until post-game that should be possible, and then once that part's done, the plan is to actually complete the post-game in this kind of bizarre world state here. But the big kind of unfortunate gap in the middle is trying to find everything needed in Farampa. See, one of the things that can also potentially softlock the run at that point is, for example, a situation where we get to Farampa and wind up in a situation that it ends up being just completely impossible later on down the road once it gets closed again, because again, that's kind of our main resource in order to access a lot of things. So we're not going to be using the blowgun glitch, but we are going to be well, it's convenient to say blowgun glitch. Like, it's not a glitch; it's just easy to say. But we're not going to be abusing that one, but the plan is to essentially use the woods for more or less infinite resources. It's basically the same thing but slower, and I'm already going to be there in order to pick up charms. And specifically, element charms are the big one. Because as you'll see once we get a good setup going here, when it comes to Canopus, like, we can get him to potentially crush most things in his way. The thing is getting him there. And this is basically the same thing that we did with Denim back in the level 1 run for a PSP, where we can basically put all the resources on one guy, and that allows for using everybody else at a sort of minimum level of competence in order to get stuff done. In that version, we used ninja scrolls on basic soldiers with short bows. We can actually just use ninjas normally to accomplish the same effect here. We were able to use Paradigm Shift extensively last time on everybody. That has been fixed, so instead we have guaranteed debuffs, which means that we have access to things like Charm, which is going to be very, very useful. Again, it takes a little bit of luck in this case because we don't have any items to reset this. Effectively, this run's version of the Paradigm Shift thing is going to be the Blessing Stone. So when we use the Blessing Stones, it gives somebody an instant turn, which means that they're automatically, going and doing their thing. So we can purposely, for example, get somebody out front, let them pass out, at which point we can basically just have them take turns over and over again, and that was one of the approaches that was used in the fight previously here, wherein, for example, I send Canopus in at low health, he attacks, he gets knocked down, and then he pretty much immediately then goes and attacks again. So we can do that. It's very effective. It's going to be pretty much it's going to be dang near mandatory in some cases to do something like that, in order to get fights ended in time. But right now, in order to land the killing hit on Josephine here, we have, again, a few approaches. So we can poison her. That's one approach. It's potentially a backup plan if Canopus goes down in the middle of his attack. Additionally, we want to try and hit her with a paralysis before we get there so that hopefully she stumbles when going for her shield bash. Additionally, we can stack up potentially a false strike from the knight in order to do that as well. The thing is, in the knight's case, currently I don't have any other knight class marks, so I can't afford to switch him out of it. Otherwise, I'd have him run warrior in order to have access to that guaranteed crit. But as of right now, he does not have that. So that's going to be something for later. Additionally, when it comes to hitting Josephine versus collecting cards, this is going to be a very it depends type scenario. Like, for example, right now, that card on the left, sure, is there, but it might not be worth dragging Canopus over there in order to go grab it, simply put because it would take 2 turns that we do not have. Like, realistically, this is a 5 to 6 turn-ish fight, and we got to get him over there, and somehow 3 of those turns have to be dedicated to him attacking something. So it's kind of complicated in terms of actually getting those hits in, but this is nowhere near as bad as the previous one was that took almost a month of retries to actually get done. So a few approaches that I've tried before that didn't quite work out. So I tried going the short bow route here, and the reason that this was even attempted was due to that big damage scaling bonus on there. Now, the thing is, it can work, but just not very well in this case. So what I was seeing over and over in that case was just simply put that it took too much time for somebody to get over there and apply a breach item, rather than simply using his weapon. So like his Vihander applying the breach on his first attack is just worth its weight in gold here. I tried also going down the other route here of using a Rune Fencer, because I was figuring we can potentially also save a little bit of time here by having that Rune Fencer go attack from the water. See, originally I was thinking to go and modify his armor so that he could go into the water. Technically, yes, that does work. Also, it doesn't necessarily help either, though, because the chain +1 that's available at this point is pretty much the only time that it doesn't actually get the Wade upgrade. I'm not entirely sure why it was given the exception, but it's the one time that it doesn't happen. Anyway, so that was kind of scuffed right there. So then the other approach was taken to again try to just go for attacking from the water using that Rune Fencer. So went with a Volge, which technically had a little bit more punch than his Claymore, or his Vihander rather, and it seemed like it would do okay, but due to the fact that he didn't have access to Mighty Strike there, the crit was a lot less reliable, and additionally we were having issues with with still reaching her anyway. So even though he could safely attack and hopefully not get hit by that shield attack that keeps running into issues here, it still was far from safe. So that wasn't really working either. So there were a lot of different things tried there. Ultimately, I feel like the best approach here is just simply going to be this Zweihander and Prey approach. That's a mad job. Because here, like, before any bonuses, before we stack anything, he's already at a 54. Now, when he has his Mighty Strike, this ups it to an 80-ish, and he's going to apply Breach, which then ends up throwing it up dramatically higher for the next attack. In his natural state, it takes like 4 or 5 attacks, 4 or 5 Mighty Strikes, which he usually can chain back-to-back in order to get the job done. The closest that it has gotten so far, he has gotten up to, he got it done with one Fizz card and basically just repeatedly ended up wailing on her. She ended up stumbling a couple of times with that shield bash, but the final one ended up landing, and that was the end of that. So this has the potential to be done with as low as well, as low as no cards if everything is completely perfect and we land just like every single charm along the way somehow. But that's kind of the rub there, that it takes a decent bit to actually get to that location. Okay, couple more things. That 50 whatever is not really where we're stuck. So, for example, if we apply a strengthen, I've got several strengthen bonuses on the team, and if we throw on one on him right now, that already gives him a pretty notable advantage. And additionally, we should have... Do we have 2 revives on this team right now? I don't think I have a second revive. So yeah, Claudian's the one here with the revive. He's basically here as the backup plan. That if something goes wrong, he steps in, he goes for the revive. Until then, he's just healing. So that helps a ton. Additionally, if we end up getting skill cards along the way, that allows for this guy to tank particularly well. He's a little iffy on that job until then. But at the very least, he can take some swings with this, try to land a false strike, which he did, which should allow for potentially disabling some of these units to some extent. That false strike on that rapier is extremely useful, just because it, again, can cause exactly the kind of clutch miss that we need. So in time, things will, will change and improve and whatever else. And after we get out of this zone, it'll be very, very different. But until then, some complications can happen. Part of the issue is what you saw right there with that Empower. So, like, one of the things we got to do when an Empower happens is basically just eat the hit with somebody that can take it. So while I would need her to go put somebody to sleep, a counter hit with Empower allows for exactly what you saw right there. So that means that we can basically drop its damage by eating the hit in a suboptimal situation. He's still probably gonna... There we go, we got the block, we got the frighten, we got the breach, so that unit is partially disabled at this point. But again, we're just basically using debuffs to get everything done at this point. So it's not exactly the most ideal setup by any means, but this can work surprisingly well given the right circumstances. Now in her case, I really want her to see about maybe disabling something. I think with her, she's taken enough from that archer to just go pull back and try to charm this one. It's very useful to charm this lady, because if she ends up going and carrying her stun over to other places, it can pay dividends. Also, paralysis doesn't break charm, so it's a great way to further kind of stack on that disabling bonus there. And additionally, one of the cool things that they added in Reborn is that charmed units won't attack each other, so if you get everybody charmed, they can basically just swarm backwards and go pile on somebody else. In an ideal world, this means that they can potentially all just go straight for Josephine, but usually they'll go for somebody else first. Okay, so with just that regular strength and bonus by itself, it wasn't very much. We're talking single-digit bonuses when he was hitting Josephine there, but stacked on top of a Fizz card bonus, it tends to apply a lot more. So with a Fizz card bonus on there, he goes up to 87. If he goes and sets up his Mighty Impact at this point with that one, he is then up to 145, and then if we apply the other 50% from the breach, then we're potentially, I believe it's like 231 or something that he gets up to. So pretty solid there. It's definitely workable numbers. So realistically, that's enough to get the job done. If he picks up 2 or 3 along the way, then he's able to completely get the job done. And thankfully, there's that false strike really, really coming in again. Okay, this... I wasn't really holding too particularly high of odds for this one to be the one, but, I mean, if it's going to be like that, it's going to be like that. So, at this point, this is when we push forward. So, if we can get units by, that means that we can get them over to the other side. Do we necessarily push them forward? Maybe not. Here, we'll at least push Denim forward over here so that we can take some additional tiles. Try to get our Terranite worked up here, because one of the other nice things about our Terranite over here is that if they... holy damn! Okay, that's some astronomical odds, actually, because that's double blocks... Actually, no, triple blocks and a parry for that poor octopus. So, alright, good stuff. In fact, actually, this might be worth pushing Claudian for, because if we do wind up in that situation... And another parry, nice. If we do wind up in that situation where everything lines up just perfectly, we might wind up in a situation that we can do that reset I was talking about earlier. Because right now this feels like the one to happen. So if we get a... Here, let's go ahead and move Voltaire over this way. We want to pick up a card. If we can get Voltaire close to Josephine, that's also extremely useful. Because if that happens, he can go ahead and essentially block for Canopus. Obviously, Canopus can fly. So, oh, nice! And we're even burning through their items by making them heal. Awesome, awesome. Okay, well, you want to go ahead and... okay, you ran out of your juice, so let's see. She's got her Fearful. She can't really get into position to do anything useful with it, so she can just kind of stand by for the moment. Probably wants to... Yeah, you know, just feed some MP to Canopus just in case this happens to be the one, you know? So there we go. Technically inefficient use of that item, but who cares? We have a lot of counters for the next fights coming up. Funnily enough, you may notice, wait a minute, this is supposed to be 2 fights. Why were you saying 3 fights earlier? So we got this fight, we got Aracel, and then for some reason my dumbass decided that we're also going for Ravenous. So there's technically another bonus objective that's going to wind up going terribly, but, you know, one thing at a time. Anyway, let's see, you go up this way, you go up this way. We need more paralysis going over this direction if... that's a bummer. Alright. That's fine, this is still workable, though. Let's see, you're out of your charms, so let's pull you back for the moment, because he's probably going to get targeted. He is breached, after all. And, alright, he's going for that one. She's going to take it at full health, that's fine. This is looking surprisingly good. Alright, so, let's see, from here, let's have you move this direction. Let's go ahead and, let's see, what do we want to do necessarily? Because I kind of want to move him over towards this way, because she's going to be getting pretty close. If he goes here, he might end up getting swarmed. If he goes here, though, no, you know what? Actually, we're going to have to hope that the next charm lands, because he's usually not the priority target. So usually they'll go for everybody else that's around, like we see right here. Alright, that's going to burn him off of one of his attacks. Kind of a bummer, but anyway, this could be a lot worse. Okay, so now we top him off. And now we kind of go for the big push here. So let's see. Voltaire needs a heal at this point. Voltaire's going to need that skill card. We're going to push you up this way, because I want to try and peel off some of these units going up that way. It's unfortunate that they keep going for these octopi, but it's one of those just things with charm. They're going to go for whoever has the higher health. And in their case, they're just the ones with the higher health. Okay, so at this point, I'm also going to collapse in this this left side here, hoping that they'll go for that caster in the back, and additionally get this card taken off the field, because I want to see more Fizz cards spawning. So what I want to see happen is that I want to see them potentially spawning up in this direction. We move more units over this way. Hopefully we see more cards this way. Hopefully there's another one that spawns on the way to get Canopus his bonuses and whatnot. And we're going to see if Voltaire can get close to land that breach to get everything done earlier. Additionally, we're going to go ahead and go for the paralysis over here, hopefully removing some turns. It seems like we burned through all of our luck early. Which kind of sucks. Alright. That actually could be helpful, because he went down. Oh, we don't have our... that's a bummer. Okay, well, in that case, let's see. Denim is probably fine. Ganlin, is he going to survive? We want him to survive a little bit, so let's go ahead and give him this heal here. Kind of squeak forward this way and see what they decide to do. Yeah, that's the Frighten and Full Strike gone. It's fine. That Aqua Bubble is not necessarily as pointy as some of their regular attacks, so it should be fine. Let's see. He's just got his basic attack, which is going to do basically nothing. He will need some MP, so to save time, we're going to have him just wait for the time being. Alright, another hit on full health. Perfect. Didn't realize that our Enchantress over on the right ended up going down. That kind of sucks. But there we go. They're taking everybody on full health. Perfect. Now, if we want to go ahead and drop more charms, please just land some of these. That would be amazing. Because if we get another good run of charms like last time, then it's basically in the bag here. Okay, so so what we want to do is he's going to go forward. He's going to heal. He's going to go ahead and set up for his crit next round because I want him to act as soon as possible. I'm still kind of up in the air as to whether or not to breach first. Because having that breach in place does get rid of one of the functions that... oh, shoot, there was that... Unfortunate. Would have liked that Fizz card a little bit sooner. I don't know if I didn't notice or if it just wasn't there, but either way, it's there now. But we need to have probably Claudian raising Voltaire up. He potentially drops the breach, which then potentially allows for Canopus to take over. This does get rid of the opportunity to do the multi-attack on Canopus, but if we can go ahead and trap her in here, he shouldn't be the kind of ultimate target here anymore. So let's go ahead and drop the breach on her. His strengthen should last 2 more rounds, which should be enough for 2 more attacks. This also allows for 2 potential follow-ups with shield bashes on the knights, if that can happen. One of the reasons this matters is because they have a little bit of a bonus when they're knocked towards an impossible tile, so that would be very helpful. Anyway, though, let's see. Just go for some paralysis here, ideally on anyone that we can get some multi-hits on. Is there anyone in the right position here? Not really, but this guy's got a turn coming up, so let's go ahead and go for the stun. Alright, he goes for the meditate. While we didn't end up getting that second Fizz card, which would have been ideal, this is better than most attempts go, so it's at least something here. Okay. Next up, it would be good to have a little bit of poison going if we can land it on this guy. Okay, didn't happen. So if she sees a need to go and heal somebody... Oh, hello! There's a Fizz card right there. In fact, we can actually potentially abuse her AI to make that happen. Please, oh, not the time for a Fall Strike, dude. Not the time for a Fall Strike. Okay. So if Canopus gets there, she is currently completely caged in, which means that she should go for the Shield Bash and put him into the Fizz card. So that is what we're going to do. Here, who's... her thing didn't roll. That sucks. Okay. Yeah, she is not feeling like concentrating. She's having severe concentration issues. It's fine. It's fine. If we lose any units along the way, that sucks, because there's no way to actually replace them at this point due to budgetary reasons, but one thing at a time. Alright, your turn's coming up there, your turn's coming up there. I'm going to say you're probably going to be the bigger threat here, so try to go for the charm. It didn't land it. That sucks. Hopefully they parry. Thankfully, those parry daggers are just friggin' amazing up to this point. Anyway, so Voltaire, I believe, has his next turn coming up relatively soonish. I think that's him right there. Yep, that's him right there. Okay, so we get the 197. We get the damage bonus on account of being right there. She should go for the Shield Bash. She should land it. He should barely survive it. And then from there, that should allow for essentially just killing with a follow-up, ideally. So everyone else just kind of has to hold position for the time being and hope that that's how it plays out. We're going to leave that Fizz card there for the time being. Parry? Yes! Oh, crap, dude. Alrighty then. Okay, perfect parry there. So, also I love how he decided to parry with a staff instead of his dagger, but whatever. I think it just sort of picks a weapon. Okay. So, with that said, we now have our level 1 over there down. We have Canopus, who should be getting boosted in just a second. This guy is continuously running out of juice, but we're going to go ahead and give him a Jewel the Avatar here. Give him his dodge buff. Have him pick up this Fizz card, because how hilarious would it be if he got shield bashed into that Fizz card and then another one appeared on the other side behind her. Alright, that Aqua Bubble from before with the breach screwed her over there. That could be a problem. Because, yeah, unfortunately, all these Aqua Bubbles have a tendency to come up at the same time, so you just sort of see a big old friggin' volley of them. Oh, that sucks. That sucks a lot, actually. Okay, well, theoretically, this is potentially still possible. If we have Canopus attack and pull back here. So he goes for the Mighty, goes for the pullback. If we can keep him alive for one more round, then this is the one. So, there we go. They go there. He picks up this one. Voltaire attacks next. He potentially body blocks. She goes and... Okay. Here's how this has to go. So he heals Canopus, he goes over here to be a willing sacrifice. If this plays out like I think it will, they should mostly go for the other guy. Hopefully some of them will be stuck in place and have nothing to do. Hopefully they go after they go for the level 1 over there. He stumbles, that buys us a little bit more time. He does not have a strike of any kind on him at the moment. So we're going to move him up here, so that hopefully he's a bit more of a bait towards these units. If Canopus gets his turn, then we're good. It all depends on what she decides to do here. Okay, so she did take the bait. He goes down. Now do the rest go for the wizard? Hot damn that parry, though. Okay, they go for the wizard. Does Canopus get his turn? If he gets his turn... Ah, that sucks. That's so close. That was so close. All right, that is just heartbreaking. But yeah, that's basically what we go for. So that was a... Oh. Okay, I'm gonna have to probably end it relatively soonish, actually, if there was some stuff that happened. Alright. Looks like random stuff is starting early today. Anyway, so... With that said, if he ends up getting 2 or 3 cards along the way, dramatically easier. If we end up, for example, not losing our caster early, that gives us a lot more kind of chances to roll charm. But that's basically what this run looks like, and part of the reason that I haven't been, for example, doing it live as opposed to, you know, just doing them in videos, because frankly, in some of these cases, some of these fights take a really long time. But it's fascinating how, like, on paper, a lot of the stuff that was there that made the level 1 run possible back in the day, technically isn't there, but at the same time, it also kind of is in a completely different direction. So, like, you know, we don't, for example, have access to Spell Strike back in the original level 1, but in this one we have, you know, we have access to that right away, meaning that we can guarantee our debuffs. So we don't have access to infinite spells, but we do have access to the means to use the ones that are, you know, already there. We don't have, for example, access to Paradigm Shift, but we have access to the Blessing Stones. We don't have access to stackable Strengthens, but we do have access to a different kind of stackable Strengthens. Like, it's just fun how it ends up being kind of, the more stuff changes, the more it stays the same, you know? Anyway. Yeah, I'm not even going to bother with the Mercurial file on him. So, early Magic Leaf on him is primarily for the purpose of making sure that he has enough Mighty Strikes later, as he typically will need to land 2 to 3 back-to-back in order for it to happen. But yeah, more or less this approach seems to be the one to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and refresh this page real quick, because I'm wondering if there's actually only been 2 comments up to this point, or if it's just doing that thing where it doesn't mention anything again. And I think it has just been that quiet of a morning. Unannounced streams will have that effect. Alright, so let's go ahead and have you go this way. Actually, yeah, that was the other thing that happened. I think I got like 1 phalanx over the course of that last one, so again, we didn't end up getting the phalanx or the concentration or any of that, so it's just one of those funny things where we ended up getting a absolute ton of charms early on and then stuns later on, but then a lot of the other stuff didn't end up quite panning out here. Additionally, you'll notice oftentimes we're going and picking up cards that we don't actually need for the purpose of just kind of causing other ones to spawn around. Because depending on how you form your party up, depending on how often you're taking cards in different locations and whatever else, you can kind of manipulate where other cards will end up appearing. So, for example, if we end up picking up all this random stuff across the field here, and we have everybody congregating around the middle, then we can... it can potentially create a situation where we're seeing beneficial cards spawning right nearby where we need them to be. So like that skill card does nothing for him, but it does open up a card slot since there's a maximum of 10 that can spawn at any given time, though that particular amount can actually change depending on the map that you're on, and I'm not exactly sure what the criteria is for that. But typically the rule is just you get rid of anything you don't need as soon as you can, so that you have more stuff to play around with. So I think we'll probably have time for one more swing at this particular map here, and then I'll probably have to go wrap it up here, since it looks like one of the foster kittens that ended up going home recently might be coming back because they got some kind of eye thing. So Oh, never mind. Never mind. Apparently they're just dropping off the carrier. Okay. Completely misread that message. Alright, fantastic. Anyway, so we're going to go here. We're probably going to make use of throwing stone knockbacks to try and get him into position to take that card. So one more thing that we can use is what we were using for the no movement run a while ago, which I really should continue that at some point. It was one of those cases of a challenge run that ended up taking a ridiculously long amount of time, but also had a tendency to have absolutely no viewership whatsoever. so it was like, yeah, you know, this is fun. Like, I can see how it's possible, and it's a neat little meditative experience, but, like, I might as well just do this on my own time. Nobody's watching this anyway. so if we're doing video stuff, it might be stuff that people actually find interesting. Alright, so more quirks, by the way. Let's see, YouTube thumbnail shows Unicorn Overlord main menu instead. Oh, shoot, hold on. Let me fix that. Yeah, let's edit this. Oh, my bad, my bad. Let's see, go to details, go to, there it is. Change that. Let's see, do I have something along the lines of like a Union Zero thumbnail somewhere? Sorry, it'll be just a second. Hang on. It probably would help to find these things if I stopped giving them stupid names all the time. Okay, I think we're instead going to just go for one of the random portrait pictures. Here, go for this, go for... Let's see, who do we want as this as the picture for this thing? We'll just put Serene. They're nowhere remotely close, but they're the first one that I dragged my mouse over, so there we go. They're going to be the one that has it happen. It's fixed! Thank you, Blackguard. Appreciate the mention on that. I constantly forget to change that. I don't know. I always forget to change that dang thing. Anyway, so let's go ahead and continue on. So, okay, quirks on the debuffs that we're using to get stuff done, because all of them do not work the same by any means whatsoever. So, like, Charm is extremely useful, but unfortunately it also has a tendency to not last particularly long. Breach and Strengthen are going to be our best damage-dealing things, but they're going to typically all be coming in at the same time. So, like, Strengthen by itself doesn't do very much. Strengthen plus fizz up cards, it absolutely shreds. So that's a thing as well. Additionally, different ranges on all of these are a thing as well. So like things like Torpor and Sleep will have longer range than, for example, Charm over here. Things like Poison Cloud and things like Poison Cloud will have slightly technically longer range on account of that AoE splash, but something like Paralytic Wave is really going to be our main sniping thing. So they all have kind of different reasons to be used. Like, Paralysis is by far going to be the longest lasting of the bunch, with a pretty good amount of longevity behind it. We're typically seeing 3-4 turns that it will end up sticking around. But realistically, we want to spam Charm, not necessarily for the damage that it'll do, but because of the potential for them to move themselves. So, like, if you land a Charm, they won't attack another charmed unit, and if you can get like 3 to 4 charmed at the same time, like we saw last time, this will just make them move out of the way entirely. And this allows for more or less free access to the boss once we get up there. So that can be very, very useful. Additionally, coming in from the side here, it doesn't necessarily provide too much of an advantage as far as flanking goes, but it does allow us to block off these potential tiles, meaning that we can potentially separate out units. Like if we can, for example, get those octopi all clumped up in one area, then their main attack just becomes the aqua bubble, not anything else. Additionally, I really should throw some extra armor onto Kashua so that she can survive one more Aqua Bubble than she currently is, in case this winds up getting smacked, which it very well might. Okay, so that is a whole lot of that stuff out of the way. So, we'll throw out some more heals here, and continue on this way. But yeah, last time was heartbreakingly close. One more attack, that's all we needed. And I've gotten to that same point, like, probably 3-4 times at this point. Let's see, how did you make your party not gain XP? That was a mod made by Chaotic Brave Alistair, who basically put together a thing in which the union level is permanently set at 0, and experience is turned off. This means that the only levels you can gain on anybody are whatever they come in with, and apparently there was no way to completely set them to level 1. The game just wouldn't accept that reality, so yeah, we went up with something like this here. Let's see, from Smiling Dog, good evening, Coffee Potato. Do you have some hash browns? All jokes aside, still have KOL from GBA and still playing it as of today and managed to finish the A ending recently. Well, good job, good job. B ending, as far as I'm concerned, B ending is always going to be the best ending, dang it. That's just the objective truth. Oh, by the way, you saw that he got hit by a false strike earlier? Check out them hit odds. Beautiful. Anyway, that's why he carries a Mercurial File. In case he ends up getting hit by one of those along the way, he can fix his hit odds in case he needs to do a normal attack for whatever reason. But yeah, dude, I love KOL. That game is such an absolute gem. I wish... It's one of many cases that I wish more companies would have done the FromSoft thing. Like, From Software just took Armored Core 3 and they're like, what if we make 7 or 8 games with the same engine? This is great. Like, why are we going and making a new engine? This is already perfection. Like, we don't need anything else. We got the best thing right here. And then they just did that for years. And it always kind of bugged me that more companies didn't do that. Like, we see great results from that every time that it's done. Like, look at the entire library of Rad Codex games. Look how people love the first Fallouts and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, you want to go put a new engine on the box, but like, hell, look at the Oblivion engine thing. We got like Oblivion out of it. We got Fallout 3 out of it. We got New Vegas out of it. Arguably, to some extent, we ended up getting Fallout 4 out of it, which is okay. And like, it's just, there was constantly more and more stuff from just reusing the same thing. Which, granted, Bethesda's not the greatest example of reusing something successfully, but still, it's cool that it was there, you know? Also, yes, as far as tater tots go, yeah, I got 3. Okay, let's see. Do we need you back? No. But we do potentially want to... Yeah, I can tell you that already this particular swing is particularly scuffed. There's almost no chance this is working out right now, because too much stuff has gone wrong right from the get-go. I guess technically... Okay, there's some small odds, kind of, maybe, that something might happen here, but this one's not looking so good. Alright. And, yes, hello there, Axel T. Rose. It is indeed morning coffee. I figured we'd probably just at least do one stream of this whole thing. The majority of this thing is going to be just videos by themselves. See, just like the original level 1 run back on PSP, it's going to be a very, very similar thing, where it goes from near impossible at the very start to potentially a surprisingly smooth run up to the end game, potentially a brick wall for the end game, and then the post game is a whole other story in and of itself. So I ended up not doing the post game for level 1 back in the day, simply put because it was just too tedious to do. This time around, Palace of the Dead is actually fun, so I kind of want to add it to there. As of right now, as soon as we end up hitting Tynemouth Hill, that is when things start happening. That's when stuff is actually realistic. That's when the run has a chance to succeed. So effectively, all that we're doing right now in this particular situation is we are trying to get Canopus over close to Josephine and then just smacking with his Vihander. Realistically, so much stuff has completely whiffed on this particular kind of run up to there that it's just... hold on one sec. So yeah, on this particular attempt, it's basically everything that could go wrong did go wrong. So yeah, almost none of these debuffs are landing, almost and no one's moved into the right positions here. We haven't even gotten Josephine breached as of yet, so yeah, it's going to be a whole thing. Yeah, that last attempt, though, that last attempt was a thing of beauty. It was, like, man, 3 blocks in a row, 2 parries immediately after, like, that friggin' wizard was trying real hard. But yeah, if we can get a few charms going, that might give a better chance of this to happen. But yeah, I think it's gone south right from the beginning. But we already have one optimization that can be made on account of giving Cashua a little bit more armor. I keep forgetting to do that. It's one of these cases where each time that you try it, there's a few little details that you start noticing to improve. And the main reason that this is currently in a bit of a rough state, as opposed to where it could be, is simply put because to get up to this point, I had to burn through a lot of items. When I was originally routing this run, it actually didn't involve a lot of what we're seeing here right now. Because originally I was going to go down neutral route, take all of those free neutral recruits, and it would have been dramatically easier than this right here. For some reason, was just kind of sitting there, apparently just, I don't know, thinking about squirrels or whatever, and my brain's just like, yeah, what if we do law route and try to recruit Ravenous? And so that's what we started working on. So yeah, right now we're in a position that we're about 3 battles deeper in terms of the actual item economy than I was originally planning for. Basically relying on what little dregs are left. Everyone that could die up to this point more or less has. So there's a lot less units in the team. Like, we barely managed to meet the capacity for actually fielding a team here in the first place. For those that didn't know, hard mode of this particular mod removes recruit skills for everyone other than Cashua and Vice. I think technically it mentions that for Denim as well, but he can't actually achieve anything other than level 1, so it doesn't matter. So we're basically in a position where it's everything's going weirdly sideways because I just kind of did a dumb call on that one. Alright, let's see. Got a couple more comments here. So from Smiling Dog, I just wish there was a complete English fan translation for Ogre Battle Gaiden, Prince of Zenobia, for the Neo Geo, since I couldn't play it due to the language barrier. Yeah, I mean, that one's kind of rough even with, like, even if it did get a full translation and whatnot. Like, the whole invisible enemies thing is just a decision for sure. Very unusual game there. But yeah, it definitely would have been very interesting to see more of that one. But you know, at some point we will. At some point we'll maybe see something more. I know that we saw the original translation due to a COVID project, and who knows, maybe World War III will break out and we'll get Ogre Battle, Prince of Zenobia translated completely. Let's see, but the hit odds in Reborn are too high. Parries everything, right? Parry is surprisingly good. Like, I don't know how many of the people watching here right now saw that one wizard just going like full frickin' Neo mode on everything, but yeah. But see, that's the fun part about the hit odds in Reborn. It's one of those little things that's hard to explain, because, like, for a casual player that just got into this, it's like, oh man, they made the hit odds more. It was so much more simulation before, but it's like, the main reason that the hit odds were improved were to emphasize those situations where it depends. Like, you get in the water, your hit odds suck. It starts raining, your hit odds suck. You get hit by False Strike, you can't physically get above 80%. Like, the hit odds naturally are higher because these are still trained and competent professional soldiers, remember. Like, I feel like that's the detail that many forget with a lot of those reviews and whatnot. I'm just like, these are trained people. That's the feeling they're going for, that they're not just like random schmucky morons. That was the problem with the PSP version, of just your trained soldiers felt like they came out of kindergarten a week ago. Like, oh, I'm sorry, you haven't learned True Strike. I'm afraid you can't hit the back of this guy standing right in front of you that's encased in stone. It's like, okay then, buddy. Sure, that makes sense. So yeah, let's see. Oh, hi there, Reggen. So, let's see. Speaking of a decision, imagine the next patch announcement stating that they're bringing back the death system of the SNES version. Oh man, I'm surprised that isn't a mod yet. I'm sure at some point it will be. Because yeah, that'd be interesting. I'd love to see that coming out as a mode. I'm sure it will at some point. Some of the the mods that came out for this one have been extremely oddly specific. So you know, so there's that. All right. So okay. So back to it. If we can get, basically we've even without fizz cards, we've seen cases where this is very doable. It's just a matter of the concentration doing its thing up till then. Not even necessarily concentration, but just spell strike doing its thing. The main important thing is time. Like, the more time we have that the entire party can stay standing, the better. So surprisingly, the more important thing is not necessarily Canopus getting Fizz cards. That will end the fight sooner, for sure. But one of the more important things is, for example, getting a hold of skill cards on the Terror Knight and Voltaire. So, like right now, we've got Sarah and Voltaire. They're the ones that need skill cards more than anything. She buys time by putting units to sleep, which sleep lasts a lot longer than Charm. It tends to keep units out of the fight a lot longer. Charm gets units out of the way and makes them attack each other. Usually that's a good thing, sometimes it's a bad thing. Paralysis tends to last the longest and leads us to a situation that it oftentimes will pay off the best, while also having the best range. But again, it depends. We can sacrifice any of the level 1s here, but would definitely prefer not to, considering that we still have Aerosol and Ravenous fights after this to go and survive, and potentially, I forget if we have to deal with Darza. I think we do, but that's potentially an easier situation. But either way, at that point, we've got access to more stuff. Like, it's a long road until we get access to the forest, and once we have access to the forest, it's just basically smooth sailing. So, so there's a lot of things to potentially consider here. I'm hoping though that we won't have too much of an issue as far as getting past. Like, it's really only these two fights that are the main issue, because like after this one, we get one of our big money drops that happen. After this one, we get another one of the big money drops that happen, which should be another like 60k-ish to play around with. And once we have access to that, that'll allow us to, for example, replace units. It'll allow us to get access to more items, because right now we have a single Blessing Stone to achieve this fight with. Once we have more Blessing Stones, we can basically do the equivalent of the Paradigm Shift trick from the PSP version. We can do a lot. But until then, we're just kind of dealing with whatever we got. I literally can't even afford to buy more basic buff items right now. That's how stretched thin this run is right now. So I'm hoping we see some Oberith drops or something like this after this one. Because yeah, this is like, this is stretched extremely thin. It might be a case where we end up letting Ravenous die anyway, despite saving her earlier, if it ends up coming down to it. But hopefully that's not going to be the case. Alright, let's see, we got another one from Axel Rose here. Say, I like how the debuffs are balanced. Sleep is my go-to for major threats like griffins and cockatrice, but humanoids are like to... or who like to, I'm assuming that's a group. Group stun is super nice since they like to bunch up. Yeah, and again, the debuffs feel really, really good in this one, and it's very hard to explain why. That's kind of the frustrating thing. There have been so many videos I've done on this particular subject, and it's like, just trying to exactly explain what makes it work so dang good is just surprisingly difficult to do. Also, I'm going to have to hope that another card spawns here. I just can't afford to have the time for her to go backwards. So we'll hope that another one spawns nearby her, but we just need to keep on marching forward. We're going to have one more heal on Canopus here. He goes for the Fizz card, and hopefully stuff lines up there. We've got Claudian here, who's going to take a second position over here, blocking. Alright, that should be good there. I don't like that he's getting targeted, but either way, that's stuff that we can heal off. He can take hits a bit better than most others. As long as damage is concentrated in non-important places, that's what really really helps here. So he can take a couple of hits and just heal him off. He's got an additional healing item to just heal while he's moving along. That's basically his freebie heal. And as long as we're doing something here, as long as we're dragging the fight this way, if you're wondering why we don't charge more, this kind of keeps everybody moving this direction, including Josephine, who then will try to get a little bit closer. Alright, we get one sleep there, we get one stun here, go for the mass stun, please, and, well, we got one. It's something. Alright, one from Smiling Dog here. Recently watched the complete story for the supposedly episode 8 to Lap of the Gods from Warren Report, and the idea can convert into reality if only Square Enix could bring back Mitsuno. What do you mean bring back Mitsuno? They've had Mitsuno. He's been working for them. He's the one that's been doing a lot of the writing for their MMO. Like, Reborn was one of the first projects he did. Like, hell, he even hopped on for this back in... Aw, lady, you suck. Well, that sucks. Anyway. So yeah, he hopped on for that one. Apparently he's supposedly been going and just I guess, getting re-inspired to do stuff because he keeps tweeting recently over just liking all kinds of various different things. Essentially going and like leaving reviews for stuff like Unicorn Overlord and Sword of Convalaria and whatever else. So I would not be shocked whatsoever if he's seeing this trend of things and just decides to hop back in the saddle for one more go. It would be awesome. And yeah, Warren Report's video was fantastic on that. So it'd be really cool to see that come into reality. For anyone that missed it, Warren Report did a just insanely long video, essentially detailing, kind of extrapolating on the existing known details for Ogre Battle 8, and then just kind of completely going to town with just like fan fictioning out an entire scenario for the whole thing, and it was pretty darn legit. So yeah, give that a look at some point. Right, she doesn't have the MP. I really should just give her a leaf at this point. That is what they're here for, after all. So she'll just go for that one. She'll go for the Fearful Impact. Hopefully she gets targeted, and then she counter-fears here. The reason I'm not going out of my way to directly attack with her is simply because she's usually better off disabling units with Sleep. But if they attack her, they get the Fear off. That's pretty valuable. Okay. Let's go ahead and throw a heal on Canopus. I feel like this is probably going to be another swing and miss type scenario. But who knows? Who knows? Stranger things have happened. And that right there is one of those scary things about Empower. That's going to be one of those few cases where stuff genuinely does have a chance to one-shot here. And this particular attempt is one hell of a tease. They're like, hey, here are these Fizz cards that would make this fight go faster. Would you like one of them? Would you like one of them? Oh, it's gone again. Would you like this one? Oh, it's gone again. Like, you dick, give me those cards. Why are you doing this? Game, why are you like this? Anyway, but yeah, no. But yeah, seeing Ogre 8 come to reality would be amazing. I mean, Unicorn Overlord is basically what I was more or less imagining an Ogre 8 might look like as far as gameplay goes. So I really hope they. I would love to see just like Mitsuno decides to go take a vacation to go join Vanillaware. Like, how nuts would that be? And who knows? Who knows? Like, it almost feels like they're off exploring other things to maybe get more inspiration going for new projects. Like, again, the composer for TO and a lot of Final Fantasy games and whatnot. He's the one that did the music for Sword of Convalaria there. And it's like, normally you wouldn't expect to see that for like a mobile game or whatever else, but like. Honestly, SOC is genuinely awesome, so I hope, well, not even I hope, necessarily, in that particular case. It's just a dang solid game and deserved a good soundtrack. Which is, again, the weird part about it being attached to what it's attached to. It's kind of a shame there, because it's like, you got this game that's genuinely fantastic, and they're like, and it's the monetization thing that tends to make a lot of folks not want to look at it, So that's kind of an interesting one. All right, so in this case, there's a very low chance for something to succeed here. So what I'm gonna do is right now most of the rest of the team is about to be torn to shreds. Okay, we've got Voltaire that's kind of doing his thing. He's going to hold up. He's going to be able to drop one more heal on Canopus as he's going forward here. But one of the things that we're going to see is, oof, no wonder he's shredding so hard. He's got a physical and a crit on him while being empowered. So we've got a 800 damage friggin' octopus over there. So one of the things that we can do here is just use those knights to sort of make a corridor for everyone else to move forward, hopefully buying a bit more time to hopefully then put a dodge onto Canopus, and again with the hopefully from there we can maybe create a situation that he dodges the shield bash that usually kills him. We'll see. Also, good morning there, Thunder. Haven't seen you in a minute. All right. So, yeah, like, everything about this particular attempt looks pretty scuffed. We even lost our Blessing Stone guy early, so that's a situation for sure. Now, really all that's left to happen here is just to have Canopus do the bum rush and hope for the best. Unfortunately, they keep targeting him, which is not great. Unfortunately, it's not quite enough to be able to, for example, see him get a higher skill rank, which might potentially help here. But it's fine. It is what it is. And if you're wondering why he's essentially training it again with that game, really, you're gonna do that 3 times in the single. All right, I see how it is. I see how it is. It's okay, guys. The game just feels like being an asshole today. Okay, for anyone who missed that, that's 3 times that it spawned a Fizz card right next to Canopus, who needs to go do his big old suicide rush right now. And each time it's like, oh, here's this card. Oh, I'm gonna take it. Let's see. Ogre Battle 8 will be confirmed when they implement the recruit skill, costing $1 to use. I mean, it still would somehow be overpowered. But yeah, no. So I will say though, in defense of that whole thing, so as far as SOC goes, like it's been weird seeing the duality of discourse for that one, because you constantly see, like, on the one hand, you got a lot of folks that are doing the whole we can't touch this with a 1,000-foot pole, because of the monetization thing, which I totally agree with. But then also you got the folks that are like, this is genuinely a really, really good game actually, and it should be looking at it, which I also completely agree with. So it's weird to see, like, no matter what kind of spin is put on whatever video for it, somebody's gonna wind up pissed. It's been very interesting to see that, like, the videos of the channel in general have typically been like on the 95% to 100 on the likes and whatever else. For everything related to SOC, it's like 80% or lower. It's like, but guys, it's an actually pretty darn good game. No, it has this thing on it, but I also agree with that part. It's weird. But yeah, no. I've been surprised by SOC. It's a weird one to cover, but it's a very fun surprise to see so much quality go into that one. Because if it wasn't attached to the whole gotcha thing, I guarantee we'd see a lot more discourse along it, like being kind of up there with maybe not necessarily up there with like Unicorn, but generally up there on like the triangle strategy level as far as quality and whatever else. Like, it does have bugs, that's for sure. Some of those bugs are hilarious, but it's like really good as far as strategy goes, and really good as far as mission variety goes. When I did the last video, I was like 15 hours in. I'm like 20 hours into the thing at this point, most of the way through the story, and it has constantly come up with new ways to do stuff. Again, doing the whole like FFTA 2 thing, where they're like, okay, so, in this case, you're just defending a town. In this case, you're just protecting a caravan. Kind of, I would say in terms of mission variety, it felt like it was going for a very Into the Breach kind of thing. So, like, you know how Into the Breach you have a lot of variable objectives in terms of, like, sometimes you're defending, sometimes you're attacking, whatever else, and then you throw, like, 20 more spins on a lot of those kinds of things, and that's basically what you get with SOC. And Earth Thunder, as far as good try, no. That one was awful. There was one earlier that was so heartbreakingly close. Oh yeah, I forgot we sold Casual's clothes in order to be able to afford a Blessing Stone. That's how dire this run's been, by the way. If you're wondering what's going on, that yes, we sold Casual's clothes to be able to afford a single Blessing Stone. That's what's going on with this not being an easy win, because if we had Blessing Stones, this would be long done. After this one, we get another big money drop, which allows for restocking, which then allows for saving Ravenous's annoying self a second time. I don't even know why I'm going out of my way to rescue her, because we don't need her, but whatever, bonus objectives and whatever else. Anyways, that should allow for another money drop, which should then allow for completing Air Cell, which should then allow for finally going into the woods, and then we basically have as much money and element charms as we need. Because right now, if I could get into the woods and give access to different charms, I could give Canopus an element advantage, which would allow for him to absolutely annihilate in this particular fight. He could be two-shotting her right from the get-go, but we don't have that luxury right now. So everything is stretched extremely down to the wire here. So we're stretched about as thin as it's possible to be. Alright, let's see if Max Rose got to draw a line in the sand somewhere. People are allowed to have their fun, of course. I just like being cynical about the industry. I mean, yeah, no, that's totally fair. I mean, it depends on the game. Like, okay, it's weird because again, a lot of folks got extremely cynical when Tactics Ogre Reborn came out and like, oh, it's just a lazy cash grab. And it's like they changed everything about the game. What do you want? Uh, but all of it, in very, very Matsuno fashion, all of the changes were strictly along the lines of like, well, we changed everything in extremely subtle and hard to explain ways. And so whenever you're trying to explain to people like, no, look, yes, it has less buttons to press than the PSP version, but look, here's a million improvements that are a result of that. It's like the equivalent of like you got your manual car from that was just made in 2020, and then like technically yes, your car or sorry, your automatic car that was from 2020, and then somebody's like, no, 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 guys, you don't understand. Stick shift has so many more options. It's like yes, technically, but just drive your damn, Toyota or whatever else. You don't need a manual car. You're like you don't understand the point of a lot of those options. Let's see. Blavier is literally just me. Hang on? Who's Blavier? Is that this guy? That's this guy. Oh, well. You know what? They're trying. They've actually been doing a pretty good job here. They're doing their best. On the wizard portrait, I can believe it. I can believe it. Man. Yeah, it sounds like it's probably about. I'm starting to hear some stirring, so as soon as the gremlins are up, I gotta unceremoniously just end this thing. So, just kind of FYI, the end is nigh, so to speak. But I just wanted to throw this out here because, well, this is more or less what's been going on with this run for a little bit of a while. It was the previous fight before this where we got to re-experience the philosophical discussion between Canopus and Wizard Leader Guy in very abrupt fashion, over and over and over, that ended up taking the majority of time for this. Like, this one is dramatically more possible than that one was. That one was also stretched very thin and involved burning through most of the blessing stones on the team, involved collecting a lot of fizz ups, and involved having Voltaire get close in order to drop a breach item, and then just have Canopus running around with iron claws, because it was the only thing that was actually decent enough armor punch wise to be able to do anything remotely resembling threaten the guy. So there's that. Also, no, I don't. Why do I keep putting him on this tile? That is the danger tile. We do not put him on the danger tile. Okay. Early setup shenanigans. We'll just go ahead and go for the magic leaf here. So yeah, this will probably be the last attempt for today. At least the last on-stream attempt. Realistically, I'm probably just going to carry the deck around with me, and eventually I'll just get it. Like, the previous one ended up missing a huge chunk of the actual gameplay for getting the guy worn down, because I was just trying again and again and again, and finally one day I was just tired at the end of the day, sitting down, just kind of having a drink and having some Tactics Ogre as you do, and just kind of everything lined up exactly right on that attempt. So yeah, and once we get out of this situation, that's when it'll finally be possible to actually have some resources on hand. But Josephine's kind of the last thing that's standing in the way, and yeah, we'll make it work. All right. Okay. So let's see. Steam Deck is goated. Oh hell yeah, it is. This thing's amazing. Like, legitimately, if I could only ever pick one device, it would probably be the Steam Deck for sure. But you can technically fit a PS Vita into your pocket a lot easier, so usually that's the one I'm running around with. But yeah, no, it's awesome being able to have this thing that can kind of shift between being a chunky, vast improvement over the Switch, while also being a computer, Like, every time I see one of these videos that's going and saying, like, oh, look, here's the new Steam Deck killer, and it's like friggin' handheld that does Windows stuff. It's like, but can it be a PC? No, we decided that it doesn't need that feature. Okay, so can it be, does it do the full Steam library? No, it just kind of has Windows on there. It's like, oh, but it also does Android stuff. Like, at that point, just get a Retroid. What's the point? Like, it's just more powerful Retroid, but you can't fit it in your pocket anymore. I mean, there's exceptions, of course, but I mean, like, it's weird that that's the part that kind of doesn't get carried over as much. I mean, there's some that do, but I think it was Lenovo that made the closest one, but even then, it just wasn't as good because it didn't have the OS to support it. Anyway, and not to mention, one of the kind of convenient things about the deck there is the amount of community support for everything. So like any problem that you have, somebody has definitely already solved in a way more autistic manner than you can possibly imagine. so so it's like, oh, I had this one minor issue. It's okay. Somebody's already run into it, and they've put together an entire plethora of different ways to deal with it. They have several apps to deal with it, and they've decided to go make several web pages to go deal with it. And here's, an entire 50-page resource on how to fix this one random text issue. Like, it's insane, Let's see. Love my Vita. It's premium as heck, but deck plays a ton of games because it was actually supported. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, it's such a shame to see what happened with the Vita, because like these days we see what would have happened if it got support, where we're seeing ports of like kind of a ridiculous amount of games at this point, of stuff that it could run but just officially it never happened. We saw tons of stuff that again was just like only on PS2, and then somebody just managed to somehow rework it to work on the Vita. And it tends to handle a lot of that stuff particularly well, but one of those quiet benefits that doesn't come up much is the heat thing. Like, one of the main downsides that the deck has is that its battery life gets killed whenever it gets heated up. And the same thing goes for Switch. Like, whenever the kids have their Switches and whatnot, there have been those cases that they ended up heating up and just completely roasting their batteries. But, like, the Vita, it doesn't tend to have those issues. Because, simply put, it doesn't heat up. If it goes 1 or 2 degrees above what it's supposed to, it just turns off. Which sounds like it would be an annoying issue, by the way, but it just doesn't come up because it doesn't heat up at all. So, like, for example, if I were to go and play, if I were to go and, let's say, play some TOR on the Switch, it would eventually warm up. If I were to play some TOR on the deck, it would eventually warm up. And I mean, granted, on the deck, it's still dang near perfect because it would last a really, really long time. But in the case of the Vita there, I just basically hook it up to remote play there, and it's just sitting there doing its thing all day. And again, the remote play works a lot better than you'd probably think it does. Like, I've basically had it connected all day with no issues before. It's just, again, it's one of those quiet little things that just works surprisingly well. It's one of those reasons that I wish I'd picked up Unicorn Overlord on the PS4 instead of Switch, because, well, it would have been a lot easier to cover, quite frankly. But yeah, also, this run's almost entirely guaranteed to be scuffed. But yeah, we're just gonna take that swing anyway, hope for the best. All right, and yeah, obviously my throat's getting a little iffy because we have another one of those cases where the temperature keeps going up and down. Also, hi there, Alistair. So for everyone wondering, this is the cool guy that made this mod. Let's see, have you found any new ways of cheesing this mod yet? Currently, we are using a bunch of debuffs and things to make it happen. I was discussing a lot of the tech for this earlier, but technically right now we're mostly accomplishing this courtesy of debuffs and things, using fear to mitigate damage, using crafted weapons as God intended, and yeah, so far it's going exactly as, well, mod intended. All things considered here. One quick question, by the way. You had mentioned earlier that when it came to recruit skills, that they were available to the Coda 4 trio. Denim never gets above level 1. Does he ever actually get a recruit skill, or was that just, or like was something specifically finagled to make him get a recruit skill, or was that just a thing there? So you suppose using debuffs is unavoidable? I mean, we use debuffs to buy time. We use debuffs to accomplish damage. This hard mode is possible, and I think post game is also possible if we get to the woods. As long as we reach the woods, that's when everything is definitely possible. All right, let's see. I think stun's probably going to give us a bit more here. So you keep thinking Lord can use it. I mean, they can... Did they get access to it at level 1, though? Because that's the thing. Like, I don't actually know how that transition's going to happen. I guess we'll find out. I probably should go Lord route just for that reason. And probably go for good ending Lord route because, frankly, the amount of reviews that insist that Lord can't get good ending is more than you'd think. Okay. So this particular attempt is hyper scuffed. We were almost past this. For some reason, my idiot brain decided that, you know what, I've got this perfect route planned out. I've got everything all ready to go. You know what the best possible approach is? We're going to go down law route. We're going to go down and recruit Ravnus and take 3 extra fights that I wasn't planning for. So, yeah, that went about as well as you can imagine. But still, this was almost a victory earlier. It is still doable. Let's see. I don't think I thought how he could have how he could use it though. Yeah, it only unlocks at 5, so I don't know if like when it comes to Lord, they don't really have level requirements for stuff. So it's very possible that once we have access to Lord, he just gets everything. I guess. I genuinely have no freaking idea. So I guess we'll find out. All right. This is potentially going to be a. Oh, that is the wrong guy I just survived. Well, I thought that was Voltaire. In that case, whoops. This attempt might be even more scuffed than before. Hey, hey. Okay, whatever. You just go ahead and heal, or you just go ahead and dodge, pray that you survive somehow. Yeah, hopefully they start targeting somebody other than Canopus. I specifically upgraded his armor so that he would hopefully not get targeted all the time. But the AI said no. Nice lucky parry there. Good stuff. You'll love to see it. Also, what are your numbers looking like versus this lady? Pretty decent, actually. Why have I not been using her to attack her? Huh. Well, then there we go. We'll just go ahead and apply the Fearful Impact. She might actually go for the attack on her instead, which would be pretty useful. Okay, can we actually put her to sleep? No. Leaders can't nap. They have no time to sleep. Fantastic. Anyway, in that case, yeah, you just kind of face that direction. Look at her all menacingly. Okay, yeah, you know what? I never even thought about using the Terror Knight for this, so this actually does make stuff a hell of a lot easier. I probably could have done this from the get-go, because, yeah, I've just been relying on Canopus and his single attacks. So, we'll try and make it work. Alright, admit seeing you not do neutral seems odd. Yeah, I know, I love my neutral, but I had a very particular reason for it. Once I have the video out, that reason will become clear. As of right now, we're just going to go ahead and pretend it's for the purpose of recruiting Ravnus and kind of go from there. Because I was thinking about Law, and there's one very, very particular thing about Law that I realized might be very useful as a backup plan. That is exclusively possible in Reborn, which was the main reason I wanted to do it. So that's kind of where we're at on that one. Additionally, I set this up a couple of different ways before, but in this particular case, what I was kind of going for was that hopefully, you know, Canopus would do this whole rundown thing. It didn't quite work out that way. Anyways, Canopus can do this whole rundown thing. I don't know what I'm even going on about right now. My brain just melted out of my ears. Don't question it. There we go. So she is breached. Once she is breached, there is a chance to get the octopi to go attack her, which also tends to help. If we have units that survived up to this point, they also potentially might be able to poison her. But again, it depends. It's that shield bash that she does that, oddly enough, is the main issue that we're running into. This is why, for example, earlier I was going for stuns and false strikes and things like that, because, well, that shield bash is kind of nutty, you know? Okay. So she won't necessarily be the one to win this right now, and this attempt is also scuffed, and somehow... Oh, hang on, you know what? I will be right back. I might have to actually, you know, I probably have to wrap it up right here because I have to go meet somebody in a few minutes. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up right here. Hopefully the video for this will be out this week because, as you can see, it's doable. It's just a matter of not screwing it up while going and chattering so much. But yeah, either way, that'll be that for now. I gotta get going. So y'all have yourselves a good one. Thank you for stopping by, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.